Over the past 4 years, home prices have skyrocketed, and many sellers rushed to take advantage of those high prices. But many sellers have major regrets about selling their home. A recent survey by Cleaver Real Estate Research found that 24% of home sellers regretted selling their home and that they wish they had waited before listing it for sale. I had a client that wanted to take advantage of those high values, so we put the house on the market, we listed it, had multiple offers, sold it at a really good price, and the sellers moved into a temporary rental in hopes of finding another property to buy shortly thereafter. Unfortunately, that didn't quite pan out the way they planned because the property they were looking for wasn't available. And because of the low inventory, that took months before we found the right property. And as time went on, when we were trying to find that right house, home values continued to rise. And when they ultimately ended up buying a house, those home values were much higher than when they sold their property. Now, there are definitely reasons why you should sell your house, but there are a lot of reasons why you shouldn't sell your house. And the first reason is going to be timing the market. Now, I know everybody wants to make the most amount of money for their property. Of course you do. You put all your blood and sweat and tears into fixing the property up, taking care of it. You want to get out every single penny that you put in, and then it would be nice to get a little bit more. And it's really tempting when you see those headlines that home prices have gone through the roof to kind of jump on that bandwagon. But very rarely does the market align with what your personal reasons are to sell. Now, if you're an investor and you don't have to think about your job, your family needs, your financial situation, the kids, the school system, then that's a different story. But when it's your home, those things are the things that you think about. And so that when you're thinking about those priorities, timing the market can lead to some serious complications in the broad picture of your move. Which leads me to the next reason not to sell, which is knowing where you're going to go next. If you were going to put your house on the market, the first question I would ask you is, where are you going to go after you sell? And if you don't have a clear answer to that question, I'm probably going to tell you to put the brakes on until you do. Now, selling and renting might be the right option for you, depending on your situation. If you're coming in from out of state and you need to sell your house right away because you're traveling across country and you need to get settled into an area quickly, that might be the best option for you. But it doesn't fit everyone. It's not always the best option for every scenario. And it's really something to look at because it could get you in a situation where that short-term rental could turn into a long-term rental. And financially, that could be very draining in the long run because you're putting money into a rental that you won't get back. And B, if home prices continue to appreciate, you may end up pricing yourself out of the market that you just moved into. Now, selling a home is an emotional process. It's hard not to be emotional about your home. That's why I'm here to take the emotion out of the equation. However, making those decisions based on that emotion can be super toxic and super dangerous. FOMO, fear of missing out, is something that we saw a lot over the last 3 to 4 years. People jumping because they were afraid that those prices weren't going to go any higher, or they wanted to make sure that they got every single penny out of their home sale. They don't want to miss out on that money on the table, so they jump to put their house on the market. And then there's the news and the political landscape and the YouTube videos touting that the market's going to crash tomorrow. And it's hard not to get wrapped up in that emotion and the fear that that might actually come true and that you want to get that house sold before that inevitable disaster actually happens. The question that I would ask you, and the question you should ask yourself is, if the market's not going to crash, the political landscape was totally fine, that the prices were not going to appreciate, maybe they were just going to level out, would you sell right now? And if the answer is no, then you shouldn't put your house on the market. Another question you want to ask yourself is, can you afford to sell? Financial reasons is a great reason not to sell your house. Now, financially, it might be the reason you need to sell. Maybe you can't afford the property anymore. We'll get into that in a little bit. But if you have financial stability now, and you're thinking, gosh, it would be really great if we could capitalize on the market and cash out all that appreciation and go buy that dream house that we've always wanted with the swimming pool and big backyard and jacuzzi and all the things. But when you look at your budget doesn't support that payment, because even when you're taking the money out of your equity and putting it into another house, you will see an increase in your housing payment. If your expectation is to take the equity out of your house, put it as a down payment on another property, and you want to stay within the same monthly payment, you're basically going to be trading your house for another house of similar characteristics. But if you're looking to upsize, even if it means getting into the same size house but maybe with amenities or an HOA, and you need to take a good look at what that means in your budget. You may decide that once you do that, you determine that, gosh, I really don't want to increase my monthly budget by $400, $500, $800, $1,000 a month. So instead, what you can do is you can take that money and improve your property. You may find out that improving your property is a better option than selling your house. I did a video recently on 5 repairs that will actually improve your property value. You can check that out right here. And in fact, according to the Cleaver Real Estate Research Study, 25% of home sellers that sold their house wish they had waited and made repairs to their house before putting it on the market. Now, if your house has been upgraded and it has been highly customized for your specific needs, that may be an issue and a reason not to sell. I will tell you from my own personal experience, I have done exactly that. I have put in a ton of smart home devices. I have customized this house to my specific needs. And I know that when I go to move, it is going to be expensive to be able to replicate that in another house. And if that's not a big deal to you, then that's okay. But if you are in a home that you've done specific things, maybe you've created a home office, you have smart home devices, you have different things that you've upgraded that you absolutely would want in a new home, you have to remember that that is going to come at a cost. And that might be a reason why you don't want to sell, because that cost might be significant enough that it actually is outside your budget. And now you're in a home that, yes, might be a little larger, it's in a different neighborhood, maybe you have that pool, but now you've lost all of those conveniences and upgrades that you made to the other house because you can't afford to put them in the new house. One of the things that drives me crazy is when I hear about a homeowner asking an agent if they should sell now, and that agent responds very quickly, yes, it's a great time to sell. You should absolutely put your house on the market. Inventory's low. I can sell it super quick and for a really great price. Prices are so appreciated. They're so great. You're going to make so much money. What they really should be asking is, why do you want to sell? If the agent asks why, the answer might be, don't sell, do these things instead, get those ducks in a row, and then we'll talk in 3 months, 6 months, a year. However, the answer might be, yes, you need to sell right now. Your circumstances require you to get moving faster than you expected. And in fact, according to that Cleaver Real Estate study, they found that 20% of sellers wish they listed sooner than they actually did. And that tells us that sellers were not well informed, because there are circumstances when it is absolutely the right time to sell. Now, finding the right agent when you are looking to sell is crucial. And over the last 28 years, I have built relationships with thousands of real estate agents from coast to coast. If you need a great agent in your area, anywhere in the US, click the link below, fill out the short form, and I will get back to you within 24 hours and will connect you to one of the top agents in your area that will take great care of you. Now, I've talked to you about all the regrets the sellers have and the reasons why you might not want to sell your home. But there are reasons why you should sell your home and why now is the right time. And one of those times is if you financially can't afford the house anymore. You lost your job, it's health issues, maybe you just financially can't afford to be in the house anymore. Maybe there's too many repairs that need to be had that you just can't make it work. Maybe you bought an older home, you bought a home that had a little bit more wrong with it than you thought it was, and it's just collapsing on you. You say, I can't repair the roof. I can't repair the windows. I don't have the money to do so. I need to get out from underneath it. You have those financial pressures. Absolutely, that might be one of the times that you say, I just need to put it on the market. You don't need to stage it. You don't need to do it. Just put it on the market and sell it to relieve that financial stress. Another reason to sell would be a divorce. If the court orders the house to be sold or one party's buying out another, you're going to get the house sold and you want to probably do it sooner than later. Death, if someone in the house dies, or maybe inheritance. If, say, your grandmother dies and the house is empty, you need to sell it. Those are the types of things that you want to sell the property right away. You're not going to time the market. You're not going to sit back and say, oh, let's wait and see what happens in 6 months. No, you're going to put the house on the market, get it sold for as quickly as possible so you don't have to incur continued carrying expenses, insurance and utilities and all the things around taking care of this property until you can get to the point where you can sell it. Another reason would be a relocation due to a job transfer. That's actually how I landed in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Back in the early 80s, my dad was relocating and we came to Plymouth. It was December. There were 4 kids. So family of 6 relocating in December. That was not fun for them. I didn't know any better. But for them, they needed a place to move. They had to sell their property and buy another property. During the holidays, didn't matter. They needed to do it because his job was requiring that he come into Massachusetts. Now, all of these reasons have pressure points where you have to sell and you have to sell relatively quickly. But what if financially you are able to move? You have done your finances. Maybe you have an increase in income or you've been saving. And financially, you can afford that increase in your mortgage payment to get to that next house. Now the question is timing. You don't time the market, you're going to time it based on when you're ready. You can take time to get the house ready, make those minor repairs, improve that property value as much as you can. Look at the personal timing on when it makes sense for you to make that move, and also look at your options for selling. Now, when you're going to sell and buy a home, and you take the equity out of one home and put it into another, it is possible to do it on the same day, where you actually turn the keys over to your new buyer on the sale side and then purchase the other house in the afternoon on the buy side. But that is a little bit complicated and all the ducks in a row have to be lined up in order for that to work. But there are other options. One option is to set up a HELOC or a home equity line of credit. Once you have that set up, you can actually access that money as your down payment on your next home. What that will allow you to do is not put your house on the market right away, but take your time looking to buy your next home. You can shop for the next home. If it takes 4 months, 6 months, a year to find the right house, when it comes on the market, now it's just a matter of writing a check from the equity on your house as the down payment, purchasing that house. Once you've bought the second house, then you can turn around and sell the first house. I recently made a video and went into detail on exactly how this works. You can check that out here. But when you make an offer on a property without a home sale contingency, it puts you in a much better negotiation position because you don't have that contingency and you can also be more flexible with time. You're not capped by how quickly you can close based on when that first property is closing. You kind of have flexibility, especially when you're competing against other offers on your time frame. You can close whenever the seller of that property closes, and you can put your house on the market on your own terms. You might decide after moving into the second house that you don't sell the first house, and you turn it into a rental and have the rental income cover your existing mortgage on that first house and have that become passive income. It is super important to ask yourself why you want to sell so that you can figure out when it's the right time to sell. If now is the time to sell, make sure you check out this video on mistakes to avoid when you're selling your house. My name is Jen Sylvester, and I'm here to make you a savvy home seller.